If God is all powerful, why didn't He just forgive us? This is one of the most common objections to Christianity because people wonder why the cross, why blood, why sacrifice? After all, if forgiveness is all about letting go and moving on, why couldn't God just forgive us? Here's an illustration. So, if somebody murders another person and the victim's family members are willing to forgive and let go and not even seek revenge at all, has justice been fulfilled? No, because regardless of the family member's willingness to forgive, the state still prosecutes the murderer. Why? Because forgiveness is not the same thing as justice. Forgiveness is about restoring relationship, while justice is about restoring moral order. Today, we're going to be looking at the reason why true justice goes beyond your forgiveness, and how the cross is not merely God's backup plan, but the only way a perfectly holy and perfectly loving God could save sinners like you and me and still stay true to his own nature. But before we get into that, hello, my name is Chioma, and this is the Ecclesia. The Ecclesia is a gathering of people who are open to God and curious about faith. If you're watching this video right now, you've been called. Now that you're here, please hit the subscribe button and watch this video to the end so you determine if you like it. And if you like it, tell me what you think about it, okay? Don't forget to give it a thumbs up too. But because this is a thinking gathering, I need to know what you think. So don't forget to let me know in the comments, okay? Okay. Let's stay on the murder example. The judge is not going to dismiss the case merely because the family members forgave. Why? Because the human justice system recognizes that murder is not merely a private offense against the family. It is an offense against the law. The purpose of the law isn't to make the family members feel better. It is to uphold justice, protect society, and uphold moral order. In many legal systems in the world, personal forgiveness does not erase legal accountability. So let's think about this. If the imperfect human justice system recognizes this, how much more a perfectly holy God? Sin isn't merely making a mistake, it is a rebellion against God's holy character. David himself recognized this in Psalms chapter 51, verse 4, where he says, "Against you, you alone have I sinned and done this evil in your sight." Of course, David sinned against people. He committed adultery, he even arranged a man's death. Yet he ultimately recognized that all sin, violates God's holiness, right? So it is not just a personal issue, it is a moral issue, a legal issue before the judge of all earth. Another example of this will be Joseph. When Potiphar's wife tempted him to lie with her, he said, "How can I do this wickedness and sin against God?" So when you steal, you're not just sinning against the person that you steal from, you're sinning against the God that said, "Thou shalt not steal." So when people say, if God is all powerful, why couldn't he just forgive? Notice the assumption behind that question. They assume that power is the ability to do absolutely everything, including contradicting yourself. That's not biblical power, because God is not just merely powerful, He's also perfectly righteous. He's also perfectly just. He's also perfectly truthful. In Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 4, it says, "He is the rock. His deeds are perfect. Everything He does is just and fair. He is a faithful God who does no wrong. How just and upright He is." And in the later part of 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 13, it says, "He cannot deny himself." So God cannot in all his power be just today and decide not to be just tomorrow. That's not how it works. Sorry. That's not how it works. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. Notice the wordings. A wage is something you earn. Sin earns death because it separates humanity from the author of life. And God warned Adam from the beginning. He told him, "In the day you eat of this fruit, you will surely die." God wasn't merely making an empty threat, He was revealing to man the moral reality built into his creation. Imagine if later God said, "Adam, actually, never mind." Would you take him seriously? That would then mean God's holiness can be negotiated. God would contradict himself? Well, God has integrity, and his integrity demands consistency. That is why Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Would you look at that? Please think about this. If every evil act was met with instant cost free pardon, would justice even exist? Would good or evil even matter? Imagine a universe where cruelty, murder, betrayal, oppression has no real consequence. It will eventually become a universe where moral choices lose significance. Forgiveness without justice risks becoming moral indifference. Real love doesn't ignore truth. It acknowledges when something is broken. Parents understand this. If your child breaks someone else's expensive property, you may forgive them, but someone has to pay for the damage. Forgiveness will not automatically erase the cost. No. Justice demands that the cost be dealt with. Now, this is why the cross is necessary. God doesn't choose between justice and love. With the cross, he satisfies both. Let's go to Romans chapter 3. We're reading 25 to 26. For God presented Jesus as the sacrifice for sin. People are made right with God when they believe that Jesus sacrificed his life, shedding his blood. This sacrifice shows that God was being fair when he held back and did not punish those who sinned in times past. Why did he hold back? He loves you. 26. For he was looking ahead and including them in what he would do in this present time. God did this to demonstrate his righteousness, for he himself is fair and just, and he makes sinners right in his sight when they believe in Jesus. The cross is where God's justice and mercy meets. The penalty is paid and the sinner is forgiven. Accept Jesus, because there is no other name under heaven given unto mankind by which they may be saved. The cross is God's provision. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 21, it says, God made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we can become the righteousness of God. Please accept Jesus. So let's go back to the original question. If God is all powerful, why couldn't he just forgive? Because true forgiveness doesn't erase justice, it fulfills it. Well, that's the end of the video for today. If you watched to this point, please give the video a thumbs up so the algorithm can push it to more people like you who enjoyed this video, because I'm guessing you enjoyed it. Also, this is a good time to subscribe. Please subscribe. Let's grow this channel together. And I need to hear your thoughts in the comments, so don't forget to let me know, okay? Till I come your way next time, you may go and grow.